building the supply chain from the ground up. Joining us today to speak about that is George Raptis, Vice President of Operations at JP Outfitters. George, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you for inviting me.
George, I think maybe what we might want to do is, before we get underway and start talking about the nuts and bolts of building the supply chain from the ground up, is just talk briefly about JP Outfitters. What does the company do? What do you sell?
JP Outfitters is a direct-to-consumer clothing retailer. We sell our products through catalog and online.
All right. Now, anybody that is that's working in a post-COVID, situation has clearly got some kind of supply chain issues that they've got going on. What are the issues you've been facing? And then we'll talk about restructuring the supply chain.
Post-COVID, we faced a lot of issues. The main ones was bringing the product into our facilities on time. Secondly was to the labor issues that most of the distribution centers faced. Then was the cost issue, because our shipping and our outbound went really high. And finally was the execution issue. So all of these factors together was a distraction in the way we execute and satisfy the customer demand.
So when you talk about building the supply chain from the ground up, I'm curious, and I'm sure the viewer is as well, what is involved?
We, in order to rebuild our supply chain from the ground up, we decided to follow three distinctive actions. The first one was to change cancel all of our current assumptions. Our main assumption was that we are a small company. We cannot negotiate with vendors. We cannot change. We changed this assumption, and we felt that we're not too small to do anything. So primarily, we went up to the vendors and we diversified the countries and the places we import a product. We started working with smaller vendors, even family businesses around the world, where we felt we had more leverage. Then we changed the narrative. We used to see ourselves as a catalog retailer. Now we see ourselves as an omni-channel business. That gave us a lot of leverage to go to different partners and renegotiate our terms. Mm-hmm. And finally, we changed the way we execute. We practically disrupted the whole hierarchical communication chain in our company. We're now more of a flat organization that every individual is empowered to execute on their own, although connected with the rest of the business.
Is that what you refer to when we talk about a successful restructuring of the supply chain function?
Yes.
The very things that you just mentioned. All right, so I want to turn now to your vendor mix. How is it that you went about, and are you going about now, in changing that mix? Walk us through that.
So initially, we were very China dependent, and obviously the COVID situation, it was like a lesson for us that we need to diversify the geography. Also, we were very fabric dependent and patterns dependent, so we tried to find different manufacturers that they were able to provide us with more exciting fabrics and patterns. So pretty much we changed how we approach the procurement part. Also, another thing that helped us is analytics. We developed tools that helped us understand what we have in our inventory and how to plan the future. Today, as we speak, we are planning spring and fall of 25. So we're pretty much a year and a half ahead of our seasons. That helps us and the vendors to find the right raw materials, negotiate raw materials, and develop the products well ahead.
That sounds to me like changing the narrative, but I just wonder if that's what you mean when you use that phrase. You used it a moment ago. Is that what you're talking about, changing the narrative?
Changing the narrative and seeing ourselves as something different compared to what we were, practically what did for us, gave us the courage to go back to even larger manufacturers and say, okay, this is what we are right now, this is our vision. You either need to onboard to this or we're gonna go to another vendor. And this is that helped us. We could have done this before, but we were always thought that we were too small. When we start feeling that, no, we have a vision, we have a plan, we will grow, our vendors need to be on board. As a result, we have created a much healthier and transparent vendors ecosystem.
Okay, so we've now talked about the things that you have done, and it sounds to me like they've been quite successful. I guess now looking forward down the road, what else needs to be done? What would you say?
We're a company that practically we acquire different businesses. So for going forward, we're building shared services functionality that we can actually plug each one of these new businesses to these shared services. These services include inventory planning, IT, customer service, procurement, and fulfillment. So this is what's happening now in our company.
You know, what occurs to me is that those companies that are viewing this video who are similarly situated, i.e. they're companies of the size of JP Outfitters, they've just heard a valuable story for which I thank you. Thank you very much for meeting with us today.
I thank you too, thanks.
George Raptis, JP Outfitters, is speaking with us today about building the company's supply chain from the ground up. Thanks for watching.